Today, we're going to dive into something every university student encounters at some point: scientific writing. Whether you're preparing a class paper, working on a thesis, or aiming to publish in a peer-reviewed journal, scientific writing is an essential skill, not only as a student but also in business and life in general. But what exactly is it? And how can you develop it to effectively communicate your ideas and research? Let's start by defining what we mean by scientific writing. At its core, scientific writing is about clarity and precision. It's different from the writing styles you might be used to in other areas, like creative writing or journalism, where you focus on engaging the reader with emotion, narrative, or vivid imagery. In scientific writing, the goal is to communicate complex ideas and research findings in a way that's easy to understand, replicable, and unbiased. Think about it this way. If you're reading a novel, the goal is often to immerse yourself in the world the author has created. The language might be rich and descriptive, full of metaphors or symbolism, but in scientific writing, the goal is very different. You want your readers to be able to take your findings, fully understand them, and potentially apply or replicate your methods. So everything from your word choice to your sentence structure needs to be clear and direct. For example, let's say you're conducting research on employee motivation. In a novel, you might write, "The office buzzed with energy as employees, motivated by an unseen force, worked tirelessly into the night." In scientific writing, this would shift to something like, "Employees demonstrated increased productivity, with 85% voluntarily extending their work hours after the implementation of a performance-based incentive program." The focus is on clarity and facts, not the sensation or emotional tone. One of the most common frameworks used in scientific writing is called IMRAD, which stands for Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. Let's break that down. The introduction is where you lay out the problem or question your research addresses. You give context, explain why your research is important, and establish what's already known on the topic. For example, if you're writing about leadership styles in management, your introduction might summarize existing research on transformational leadership and explain how your study builds on that. Next comes the methods section. This is where you explain exactly how you conducted your research, step by step. This part needs to be so clear that someone reading your paper could replicate your study. If you conducted a survey, for example, you'd explain how the survey was designed, who the participants were, and how you analyze the data. Precision is key here. Nothing should be left to guesswork. Then we move to the results section, which is exactly what it sounds like. This is where you present your findings without interpreting them, just the facts. For example, you might say 75% of employees reported higher job satisfaction after participating in the leadership training program. You're not yet discussing why that might be or what the implications are. You're simply reporting what the data shows. Finally, the discussion section is where you analyze your results and connect them back to the bigger picture. This is where you interpret what the data means, compare it to other research, and highlight the significance of your findings. You might discuss whether the leadership training program was effective, why it worked or didn't work, and what future research could explore. One critical point to remember is that scientific writing is also about accuracy in language. You don't want to overstate your conclusions or use vague terms. For instance, rather than saying, "The leadership program was incredibly successful," you would be more precise, like, "The leadership program led to a 40% increase in team productivity." This kind of exact language helps ensure that your readers can fully understand and trust your findings. Now let's talk about references and citations. Scientific writing is never done in isolation. Your work should always be built on existing research. Properly citing sources not only adds credibility to your paper, but also shows that you're contributing to a larger conversation in your field. For example, if you're writing about leadership theories, you'd need to cite foundational studies on transformational or transactional leadership. Citations aren't just about giving credit. They help situate your work within the academic community. Another key feature of scientific writing is its objective tone. You should always aim to remove personal biases or subjective judgments. Instead of saying, "I believe this program works," you would write something like, "The data suggests that the program has a positive impact on team performance." By focusing on the evidence rather than personal opinion, you maintain the neutrality that's critical in scientific discourse. Finally, remember that scientific writing is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. Don't expect to master it overnight. If your first few papers feel awkward or overly formal, that's normal. Over time, you'll develop a balance between clarity, precision, and a natural flow in your writing. So, to sum it up, scientific writing is all about communicating your research clearly, structuring your paper logically, using accurate and objective language, and ensuring your work builds on what others have done. Whether you're writing a research paper for class or aiming to publish in a journal, these principles will help you succeed. That's it for today's episode of Take the Leap Management. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. Thanks for listening, and remember, the next leap in your academic journey starts with mastering the fundamentals. Until next time.